because I am a nurse, and we had just been through a pandemic, and I really and truly thought the world was going to end, and I just thought that I thought I was just a nurse now, and that is what I will be doing the rest of my life, and I will not be a musician again. I thought that I was going to have to quit. But luckily, I did not.
What do you think brought you back?
I know what brought me back. My friend, Kyle Reed, he told me that he wanted to do me a solid and give me a gift for being a nurse. And he let me have some free studio time, and he said, just come do with it what you want. I already had sort of a whole album in mind I wanted to do together, but he was like, just come record a song. And so it inspired me just to write kind of off the cuff, and I wrote sort of a happier, upbeat song, and I liked it. I liked that so much, and it really revived me. And then did another one to kind of go with it, and they're both really poppy, and it really revived me and made me feel like I could put something out that would make people lighthearted and happy and would make me feel good.
Kierston White is a Norman-based songwriter, singer, and guitar player. She hails originally out of Shawnee, which makes us almost cousins. And she's got a brother named Brian White, which means she's got some fire running through her veins. As an interview, Kierston is feisty, sharp, and funny. She's got an infectious laugh, ornery and knowing, and she carries herself with the complicated confidence of someone who leaves a party when it stops being fun and takes all the effortless cool with her when she goes. I met up with her at Theopolis in downtown Shawnee, grabbed myself a couple of margaritas, and sat down at a table in Theo's backyard. She's got a toughness to her, but she was easy to talk to. If I have any shit in my mustache, you give me your origin story.
On music?
Yes.
On life?
Or whatever you whichever one.
Born?
Yeah, whichever
born
one.
In Shawnee Regional Hospital.
That's what I needed to hear. Yeah. I needed a little love for the hometown.
Grew up in the church where there wasn't instruments, and so we focused heavily on harmonies. And I thought harmony singing was so cool. I was such a dork and just wanted to go just to church camp and sing the harmonies, and that was my favorite. I was like, maybe I can learn a new cool harmony. And so we really...
That's pretty nerdy.
It is so nerdy. And we really dove into that, and because we didn't sing to instruments, and so everybody had to take a part, and there were so many different parts. I wanted to be able to sing all of them, and I thought it was so great. And so I started singing, and I wasn't even sure if I was good at it, because everybody singing together, it just kind of blends, and you're not really sure. And I started singing with the radio, and I thought, well, maybe I'm okay. Well, maybe I can sing a little bit. And I started writing poetry, and I had a poetry blog, which I hope is gone.
Is it? I mean, is it still out there?
I don't think it's out there.
We'll see. We'll get our people on it.
So I had a blog. I didn't have my name anywhere on it, but I would just word vomit on this blog and write things. Really enjoyed that, but I wanted people to read it, and I thought, what better way than to sing it, because it's harder to reach people with poetry than it is music, because music's so much more popular. I thought everything was cool that my brother thought was cool, because he was my only sibling, is my big brother. I started listening to the music he did. I really liked Wade Hayes. I really liked Garth Brooks albums and really liked country. And then started getting more in high school. My brother had a punk band. And so I started loving that and going to those shows. And then finally, I picked up the banjo when I was about 22 and played from a book. And I wanted to buy a better instrument because at some point you grow out of a cheap instrument. And banjos are very expensive. If you want a nice banjo, very, very expensive. And so my brother said, "Oh, I can't help you there, but I have this guitar." And so I got his one of his first guitars. It was a yellow acoustic Fender. I still have it. And that's when I started learning guitar. And then he taught me just a little bit. He doesn't really fancy himself a teacher. He would never sit down with me for too long. He would say, "Okay, learn this. All right, learn that really good. And then when you've got that, we'll do something else." You know, never really wanted to be a teacher, but would show me some little thing. And I would just say, "Okay, I'll get really good at that." I got really good with my right hand. And then I learned my chords and finally started putting songs together, playing cover songs to try to learn how to write songs. And then finally got some of my old poems and put them to music.
Kierston does her own thing as a solo act, gigs regularly at the legendary Deli, and she put out one studio album, Don't Write Love Songs, back in 2014. She's slated to release an EP of new tunes in August of 21, and she's going right back into the studio to record some more songs for an upcoming release. She's also recorded a live album with the Tequila Songbirds, an ever-changing lineup of female badasses that has included talented gals like Sherry Chamberlain and Allie Harder, as well as the current trio, White, Camille Harp, and Eliza B. That album dropped a few years back, and she plays with them to this day.
I played my first show at Picasso's in Oklahoma City. It wasn't called Picasso's then, it was called something else. I played my first show there, and it was like an hour, and it felt like an eternity. And my brother played with me, and had to have him play a few because I was terrified. I had really bad stage fright. To work up to that, I had to play some open mics. And
So before that, you were playing open mics?
A couple, yeah. I played open mics for a little while. And I would just be so scared, but I would play one original and one cover that I was really comfortable with. And I would start with the cover that I was comfortable with. I still, whenever I play a show, if I'm nervous about it, I have one song that has just a few chords in it that's really simple, and that's the song I will start with if I'm uncomfortable, and it makes me feel better.
Do you still get nervous?
Yeah. Sometimes it surprises me what I do get nervous for. My weekly show that I play, don't get nervous about that. But yeah, every once in a while I'll do something and it'll get in my head, like what are people going to think? Would they rather just eat their dinner and not listen, or would they rather hear something else? And you get these thoughts that kind of race in your head, and you just have to. That's when I just play that song I'm comfortable with, and I'm like, I know I'm not going to mess this one up, and I'm going to remember all the words, and then it'll help me judge the room better, and I'll know where to go from there. Yep.
You kind of dipped your toe in the pool.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's a Bob Childers song, and he's from Stillwater. He's passed away. And it's called When the Rain Falls, and it just has 4 chords in it, and it's very simple. And I love playing it. But.
When did you think that I've got a voice? I've got something to say. I'm good at this. I've got something here.
I made my record, and I thought it was pretty good, but you never know. And so I would listen to it, and I think it was great, and then I'd listen to it, and I wasn't sure, and I went back and forth, and finally I put it out, and but before that I showed it to my brother, I showed it to John Moreland, and
Bam.
Yep, and he really liked it, and that made me happy. And my brother said, "This has got to go out. This is great." And I said, "Well, what are people going to think? What are people, are people going to like it? It's not super country. It's not really anything, and it doesn't have to be." It was everybody's response. And I put it out, and people from all over just really liked it and were downloading it and talking about it. I didn't have a record label. I didn't have any money behind it other than my own. I had a little Kickstarter that I did, but I didn't have any professional promotion.
Just totally grassroots, really. I mean, just
Yes.
word of mouth. And...
Yep.
Oklahoma artist Samantha Crane describes Kierston as being such a unique blend of old school classic country and rock songwriters. She says her point of view is familiar and new all at once, which is the sweet spot of songwriting, and she gets that spot on. It's a fair assessment. When I asked Kierston what she wanted people to feel when they heard her songs, her answer was some kind of perfect. She said, I want to make songs about their life. Relatability is what I'm going for. She told me regarding the listener and their relationship with the song, whatever they think is correct.
I do write a lot of songs about personal relationships. One song is usually not about one relationship, it's about many. And I read something about Leonard Cohen that said that the way he wrote, and it's the only time I've ever seen somebody else that writes pretty close to how I do, is he'll write just tons of things in a little book, and then go back and find his best lines and his best things and just kind of go and then put those together. And that's what I usually do. I'll write down whatever comes to mind, even if it doesn't rhyme. I'll go back and make it rhyme later. I can think of another word for that, but we've got this going, so let's keep going. And I'll write maybe a whole, small notebook of stuff, and I'll go back and I'll try to find my best ideas, and I'll try to find the best 4 or 5 line sentence that could be repeated over and over as a chorus and be catchy, and then try to keep it, and hopefully it fits to some melody that I make. And I might keep that little blurb, that little notebook poem in mind for 3 years. and then I'll be like, oh, I could put that to this one, or even just a chunk of it to this one. Yep.
And I was reading an interview that you gave where you really talked about how your songwriting process is kind of, you take your time with it. Folks that are like, oh, I wrote this song in a day, or I wrote an album last weekend.
Yeah.
You take your time with it. You don't feel any pressure to like rush. Is that right?
Sometimes I do feel pressure because I'll hear other people say, I wrote this whole album in a week or whatever, and it makes me so freaking jealous because sometimes it's really good, And I'm like, I don't know how you do that.
A lot of times though, it's just really fast.
And sometimes it's just really fast,
what I mean?
There'll be like 1 or 2 great songs on it or something,
Like maybe take another week.
Maybe check.
Maybe give it another weekend. But that doesn't.
I can't do it.
Yeah.
I can't do it. And maybe I have stuff that I throw out more often than not. I guess I do. I just don't write as often as some people. And it makes me jealous that other people can do that, but I just can't. I take my time. I like to think that I produce quality songs from it, but I wish I could be just a little bit faster than, a year per song would be nice.
That would be good.
Yeah.
That's a goal.
The exception is that song we played the other day with band, the song titled Gone.
Great song.
Thank you. Kyle Reed contacted me, and he said, I want to do something nice for you, and I want you to come to my studio and record a song on the house. I said, yeah, I'd love to do that, but I don't really have a song ready because I want to make another full-length album, but those songs are kind of a chunk together, and I want to keep those together. So I was like, well, I got a couple lines. Let's do it on the 18th, and I'll just finish it. So I sat down 2 days before, and I finished that song. That was the fastest song I've ever wrote.
There's a lot of words in that song.
I'd like to do more like that, though, because I'm really into pop music right now and more lighthearted music. After such a rough year, I've been listening to very lighthearted songs and poppy songs. My goal is to write like Tom Petty. Just write a good rock pop song, that gets in people's heads, but also has some feeling. I've done this show at the deli for about, we've figured out maybe 8 years now, on Thursdays, happy hour. And several different people have done the happy hour show at the deli. Travis Linville's done it, Parker Millsap's done it, Camille Harp's done it before. And it's just kind of a happy hour show that we pass around. I really like it because I like song swapping and playing along and singing along to different people's stuff. And I really like to kind of discover new artists myself, and like if somebody's, has just been playing around or just an open mics or something, or if somebody's traveling and they're in town, I'm like, well, I've got a show for you to make a little bit of money. Come on down,
Yeah.
We'll play for 2 hours and we'll talk. I really enjoy it, and it gives my traveling friends a place to kind of land too, because they always know that they can come through.
Well, that's something that I've seen, like, with the series as we've gone through, and, like, speaking to a lot of folks who are Metro-based, Norman, Oklahoma City, like, what a community it is.
Yeah.
And how supportive everybody is,
Yep.
like, of each other. And that's pretty romantic.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, really. I'm sure there's competition, healthy or otherwise, but most of the folks that I talk to, there's just really nothing but love and respect for each other. I mean,
Yeah.
would you agree with that?
Yeah. We've had a really healthy music scene come up in Norman. And then we get the Oklahoma City folks too, so we like to kind of claim some of their talent too sometimes, and them us. And John Calvin went to college there, and so did David Leach, and they met at that time, and we all lived on the same block around the time that they were graduating college and playing out a lot. And so we would write songs and go to each other's little crappy apartments and share songs and share ideas and play together. And I felt like I got to kind of come up with them. And then, Camille Harp is in Norman. My brother comes to Norman a lot to play with me, and it's kind of why I've stayed there. Because people ask, if you're in music, why haven't you moved to Austin or Nashville or LA? And I'm like, well, this is a central location, and to a certain point, I feel like communities are all the same. And I just like to stay where my music family is.
We don't have boats or 401k, but hooray, hallelujah, we ain't all the same, yeah, hooray, hallelujah, we ain't all the same.
I started Tequila Songbirds because I was offered a resident gig at a Mexican restaurant. I wanted to do an all-female song swap, and so I just started inviting the girls who had influenced me, and I saw Caitlin Betts busking, and I said, you want to come play my show? And she said she would. And so then we became friends, and she came and played my show, and then so she was a songbird, and then Allie Harder came and played a bunch with me, and she was a songbird, and once a songbird, always a songbird. And Sherry Chamberlain, I loved her music. She has great songs. She started playing with me, and Susan Herndon did, and Samantha would come, and of course Elizabeth Forsyth or Liza B started playing fiddle with us, and she had only been a classically trained violin player, really. She started sitting in and kind of got her chops and learned how to fiddle and learned how to play along with people. Of course, we just all became great friends, and of course Camille Harp. And so then after the song swap residency gig stopped, we decided that we liked our little trio, quattro, whatever we were doing, and so it kind of morphed into me and Elizabeth and Allie and Camille, or maybe a trio made out of those couple people, and we became a band, and so now it's just our band name. We'll do fun cover songs, we'll do Camille Harp's songs, and we'll do my songs, but I do them differently with the Songbirds a little bit because we like to be really high energy. We have a lot of fun. If I'm playing a gig with the Songbirds, I know that we're going to be swinging hair and throwing things and thrash folk. I call it thrash folk.
That's a thing now. It's a thing now.
Thrash country
now.
folk.
Hey, don't put on your makeup today. It don't matter
When I was first coming into music, I thought you can just send your stuff to radio or anybody, and if they like it, they'll play it. But it's not necessarily that way. You know, there's a lot of ins and outs that you don't know about, and that's discouraging sometimes too. But if you just keep in mind, like, you don't have to be famous. Like, maybe you don't have a big record label behind you or a big promoter behind you, but if you just do your best and be sincere with people and make friends and whatever, and share your music with people and get it out there the best you can, then that is enough.
We were talking a little bit earlier about you working at the Rock and Roll Camp for Girls. What's something that you learned from that experience? Obviously, you're there to like inspire and teach and instruct these youngsters, which is really, really cool.
Yeah.
But what's something that's taught you?
Those girls, they can put together a song, whereas it might take me a year. They can put one together in a week because they're just so excited, and they can, they can make a song about their favorite. What's your favorite animal, and your favorite color, and then they'll make a song. And I feel like I could learn from that probably just by remembering that you can make a song about really anything. And they're just so on fire and so excited about music. It's really inspiring.
One other question, because we're here at Shawnee Lake,
Yeah.
which is like a magical place for me. What does Shawnee Lake mean to you?
Oh, Shawnee Lake means to me youthful, mirth, youthful.
We haven't had mirth and play it loud at all.
No mirth.
It's the first
No.
mirth we've had.
So I grew up in Shawnee, Bethel area, and we would just come out and just drive around and cause mischief and go swimming, and it's just so beautiful. And sometimes I even forget it's here, but shame on me, because it's a really gorgeous place. But I grew up out here, and it just smells like home.
Kierston's dry-humored and a little salty. She's got the attitude and the guts it takes for some Church of Christ kid to grow on up and snake her own poems, turn them into songs, and then carry those songs up onto a stage in front of a bunch of half-drunk strangers. Expect them to listen. She's hard to read, but worth the effort. She carries a lot in her eyes. Earned her grit like any songwriter worth the paper they write their songs on. Outside of music, Kierston's a night shift nurse in the cardiac ICU. She worked the COVID floor during the height of the pandemic, lived through some soul-crushing moments during a time when the world was on its knees. She's seen things as a nurse, as a musician, as a human being, and that gives her perspective. We were talking before we were rolling about COVID and the year that we've kind of had.
Yeah.
Where do you see, I don't want to lead this question, but like, where do you see music playing into how we heal from a year like what we've just had? Do you see it playing a role in bringing people together? Think people are hungry for that?
Yep. Hold on. You have lime. Other side.
Don't hold on. That was perfect. Thank
There.
you.
Got it.
Am I good?
Nope. No, now you put it back in
Now
there.
it's in
now
there?
it's right here. Nope, you got it. Okay, cool.
Yeah? Am I good?
Yep, you're good now. It's totally gone. You're fine. Okay.
Now I'm okay. Please. Do you see that? I mean, it seems to me like as a filmmaker that like people are hungry for content, right? Like
Yep.
everybody was stuck in their house watching everything that was on Netflix or Prime or whatever, and there's a need for new content. But with music, there's a terrific opportunity for bringing people together. And I think people are hungry to socialize and be around one another, but also, you and I were talking earlier about people who want live music.
Yep.
Do you share that belief? Do you think that people are hungry for music? Do you think that music can help bridge some of that gap?
I think people are hungry for new stuff since the pandemic. I know a lot of people are playing shows and are putting new stuff out, and there's kind of a boom right now, and I love it. Because one of the top things that I see people saying on the internet is, I can't wait for a live show. I can't wait to sing along to songs with my friends. And I think that's great, like a renaissance.
Do you feel that for yourself as a performer? Like, have you missed that?
Yes. I love performing. It's my favorite part. It is my favorite part of music. I just finished these 2 songs I'm about to put out soon, and they're both very fun. They have drum machines, they're pop music, and that's how I feel I want to reboot. I just want to be fun, lighthearted, and poppy because I feel like the world almost ended. So I would like to just be open and happy and upbeat.
I asked Kierston about what she sees as her biggest strength as a singer-songwriter, and she suggested perhaps that she's able to trash the fluff. Those are her words, not mine. In writing, screenwriting, that's a fairly brutal undertaking. They say you got to be able to kill your darlings, and it's not easy. And for songwriting, it's no different. And for all she writes, she says that most of it gets left on the floor. That kind of sacrifice requires a rare discipline. Ask her for her biggest weakness, she says she gets afraid to put her songs out there, wants to chain them up until they're perfect. She admits letting go of her work is hard, and that makes sense. Her strength and her weaknesses all wrapped up together. It takes time to get where you're going when both the journey and the destination mean something. And because she knows when she hands you her song, that song becomes yours. Kierston says she wants people to feel, and her music makes that easy.
1, 2, 3. I know every hair on the back of his head. I'm bottling air of the words that he said, and he don't look back at me, but if he did, he'd see I'm getting smaller and smaller and shrinking. His feet only move in one direction, the other room from where I headed. East was the best guess I had yet. Turn around, he's riding into sunset's gone. Just like that, gone, and that's a ride I'm on. Just like that, gone. Took all my clothes and he took all the hangers, the tip of my nose and the tips of my fingers. He took all my bad songs and all my bangers. Where he is now ain't where he'll be later. He's driving away with the plates that I can't decipher, turning a page on a plane, drinking from a highball, riding away on a redneck motorcycle. Gotta say it by now, he's liable to be gone. Just like that, gone. And that's a ride I'm on. Just like that, gone. I gave chase and I gave affection. I gave him some space for some self-reflection. I gave him everything, everything, everything.